joining us for Cultivating Resilience in Crisis, where we'll talk about how we can continue to get by in the age of COVID and find the strength to move our lives, societies, and economies forward in a post-COVID world. Sharing this insight is Natalie Kogan, one of the leading global experts in optimizing emotional fitness and elevating leadership. Natalie is the creator of the Happier Method, founder and CEO of Happier and Happier at Work, and author of Happier Now and Gratitude Daily. Take it away, Natalie.
Hello, awesome humans. I'm Natalie, and well, let's see, I'm supposed to introduce myself. I'm going to say this. I'm Natalie, and I teach emotional fitness skills for a living. I teach emotional fitness skills to individuals, to founders, to leaders, and to teams. And never in a million years did I think this is what I would be doing with my life. So here's a bit of the journey, because the journey is what brought me here, and the journey is the reason I do this work. I came to the US as a refugee, and when I was a teenager. I grew up in Russia, and we spent several months in refugee camps before getting permission to come to the US. And so here I was at 14, living in the projects on welfare and food stamps, and that was a pretty tough beginning to my American dream. By the way, I spoke almost no English, and whatever English came out of my mouth came out with this horrible accent. So I just want you to remember how kind and compassionate everyone is in 8th grade. I hope you just laughed just now. And then I want you to put me in like 2 weird outfits to my name from donation piles and no English or whatever weird English came out. So yes, I was a source of big entertainment for my 8th grade classmates. And the reason I start there is because I just remember I was so overwhelmed and just sad and alone. I just wanted to not feel that way. And one thing I was really good at always, and this I knew was going to be my ticket out, is grit. Like, I was very tough. I was gritty. And in fact, I didn't know these words at the time, like grit or resilience, but I actually thought I was a really resilient person. Like, my whole life, people told me, you're so tough. Like, you can do whatever you want. So I worked my butt off, and I used all my grit and toughness. And, we got out of the project. Obviously, I learned to speak English. Graduated first in my class at Wesleyan, went to McKinsey after graduation, a very, very prestigious job at the time. By 25, actually, I was a managing director at a venture capital firm in New York City. Those of you watching probably know that venture capital has less than 6% women. And here I was, bright and young at 25. Just for fun, I'll mention my first venture capital investment was in a tiny, tiny little company called Constant Contact, which has obviously became a huge success, $1 billion company. And I learned a lot. But after VC, I started or was part of executive team for 5 different companies. I worked at Microsoft and PayPal. I married my college sweetheart named Avi. We were living in New York City. This was my dream. We had a beautiful daughter named Mia, who's 16 now. Don't tell anyone. So on the outside, my grit and resilience were like, oh my God, working for me. I was achieving all the things until I hit a wall and completely broke down and completely burnt out, and got to the absolute darkest time in my life. I speak for a living, so I have told this hundreds of times, and I still get goosebumps when I say this, because it's something, one of the hardest, probably the hardest thing I've ever gone through. Literally, I felt no hope. I just felt this overwhelming darkness that was invading every part of my life, from my ability to run my company Happier, which I had already started. We had a gratitude app that we had done that was quite popular. So I couldn't really feel any ability to lead my team. I was paralyzed from making decisions. I was kind of a ghost. I was a ghost as a mom. I was a ghost as a person. And the only thing I felt inside was dread and darkness. And it was a really, really scary time. I won't exaggerate when I say that I legitimately faced losing everything that was meaningful to me, from my company to my family, my marriage, my life. And I didn't want to give up. As hopeless as I felt, I didn't want to give up, but I didn't really know what to do. And in retrospect, it was so obvious that this is where I was headed, to that dark place, because not for a moment during my very successful career, not for a moment did I pause to consider my needs as a human being. Not for a moment did I actually pause to consider that I am a human being with emotions and emotional needs. And maybe it's a good idea to think about my emotional and mental health and, oh, do crazy things like take a break or get some sleep. All of that was ridiculous to me. It was for the wimps, right? I was strong and resilient because I thought that's what it meant to be resilient, to be tough. And when I found myself in this really, really scary time in my life, I really had to redefine completely, not just how I live my life, but how I thought about what it means to have resilience, what it means to have emotional fitness, what it means to be able to do work that I love, but from a place that fuels me instead of drains me, and in a way that I don't constantly have to struggle and sacrifice myself and my health. And this is why I do the work that I do, because I didn't give up, and I spent many, many years doing a lot of scientific research and lots of trial and error. And I did come up with a method to get myself out of that really scary place and to a place that, again, it's not like my life is all smooth, but I do have this inner resilience and ability to do this work that I love without constantly sacrificing myself. I didn't realize that the method I created for myself would become what I now have had the honor to teach to hundreds of thousands of founders and leaders and teams through our Happy at Work program. And so I want to share with you some of the mindset shifts that I made on my journey, including around what it actually means to be resilient and some of these science-backed skills and simple ways to practice them. But I need to start from probably the most essential and liberating and empowering mindset shift. And that is that your emotional fitness is a skill. It is not something that some people have and some people don't. It is not something that some people just get easily and others don't. Emotional fitness, like physical fitness, is a skill. You wouldn't expect yourself to just like go to the gym and lift huge heavy weights or run a marathon if you've never practiced it before, right? If you haven't been running, you're not going to try to run a marathon. And yet, most of us did not pay the same care and practice to our emotional fitness. And then we face all these daily challenges and we think we can just tough it out and keep going. And we do. And I'm sure you watching are toughing it out and are going, but are you at your best? Are you able to do the meaningful things that you are doing without having to sacrifice other meaningful things in your life? Research shows that people who have greater emotional health and fitness are more productive, more creative, more collaborative. They come up with better solutions to problems. They're actually more successful over their lifetime. And so not only does cultivating your emotional fitness as a skill help you to get through incredible life challenges and life storms like the one we're in right now, but it actually enables you to bring your greatest capacity to every situation you're facing. And, so many of you watching are entrepreneurs. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. So this is what I want you to think about. Can you truly build a meaningful, great company if you are drained and exhausted and are struggling all the time? The answer, of course, is no. You can probably build an okay company, but none of you here want to build an okay company. You want to do something truly meaningful and great. And so you have to start to think of your emotional fitness as a skill that you have to pay the same care to and intention and practice, most importantly, as you do for other skills in your life. And another mindset shift that I want to offer before I share some of these skills with you is around resilience. The thing is, resilience has nothing to do with being tough. It doesn't. Resilience is not about being like tough as nails and just getting through stuff. And it's also, I've studied resilience a lot, and a common definition of resilience is kind of ability to get back to baseline after going through challenges. Well, I think we can do better. I think we can do better than just get back to baseline. I think that we all, when we practice our emotional fitness skills, we can get through the challenges in our lives, not just with less struggle, but we can also courageously embrace them and grow our minds, grow our hearts, grow our concept of ourselves. And so I want you to not think about resilience as like being tough. I want you to think about it as a way to practice skills that help you adapt to adversity, that help you adapt to challenges, but not so you can go back to the baseline, but so you can embrace it all, grow and learn from it and actually come out with greater capacity to do more of the meaningful things that really matter to you. So with that, I want to share with you some of these science-backed emotional fitness skills that I learned for myself, that I now teach to awesome leaders like you. And the first one is the skill of acceptance. Now, if you're anything like I used to be, when you heard the word acceptance, you probably went like, oh no, that's like, oh, whatever happens, happens, that's how I used to see it. But actually, nothing could be further from the truth, because the skill of acceptance is a skill that allows you to focus your attention and your energy and your capacity, your intellectual capacity, on things you can control and not waste your energy on things you cannot control. The skill of acceptance actually puts you in the driver's seat of life. So think about this. When you encounter a challenge, again, if you're a founder or a VC or a leader, challenge is the name of the game, right? Challenges are constant in our lives. Your mindset that you have around that challenge dramatically impacts your success in getting through it and actually your resilience. And this is where the skill of acceptance is so powerful. Research shows that knowing and feeling that you have some control over things that are happening is essential for your ability to actually move through it resiliently. And this is where acceptance helps you. So acceptance is a skill of looking at how things are with clarity, like what are the facts, instead of judgment. Judgment is, this is not how it should be. I wish it were different. Why is this happening to me? That's judgment. So acceptance is a skill of looking at a challenge or a situation with clarity, separating the facts from the drama, from the story, and then asking yourself, given how things are, what is the next best thing that I can do to move through this challenge? And I'm actually going to give you a really specific way to practice this, but the thing that I want you to really think about is you start every day with a limited reservoir of emotional, mental, and physical energy, right? None of us are superhuman. This is the other thing that the trap that I was in. I kind of thought I could just like always keep going. I'd always have more energy. Well, you're not a machine. You're a human being. So we all start the day with a reservoir of energy. Now, we are going through so many challenging things right now that your reservoir is actually already depleted because there's so much stress and anxiety. And so we have to be so intentional about preserving, not wasting our limited emotional and mental energy so that we can actually use it to solve problems, to help others, to do all the things that we care about. When you get stuck in the this is not how it should be, or when your brain runs away with very dramatic scenarios, usually negative scenarios, oh, this is not going to work out, this is how bad it's going to be, that is wasting your limited emotional mental energy. When you practice acceptance, when you say, this is how it is, these are the facts, what is the next best thing I can do? You're not wasting all of that energy. So you now have that emotional and mental capacity to actually help you decide the best way forward, to actually help you apply yourself in the best way. And now you are focusing your attention on things you can control versus wasting it on things you cannot control or getting stuck in the should. And this is such an important skill to practice with all of the difficulties and traumatic really events that we're going through right now. Because here's the thing about your brain on challenge. Your brain's number one job is not to make you happy or to give you well-being. Your brain's number one job is to keep you safe from danger. And so your brain, it's really important to understand, your brain hates uncertainty. And by the way, I wish I'd known this when I, was starting different companies in my life, because to be a founder, to start a company, is to face uncertainty. And so it's really important to understand what our brain does in uncertainty. The brain hates uncertainty. Why? Because when things are uncertain, it doesn't know how to keep you safe, right? So what does the brain do to deal with uncertainty? One of the things it does is it makes up really dramatic negative stories about the future to give itself a sense of certainty. You heard me right. Your brain would rather know that something really bad is going to happen than to face uncertainty, because at least then it knows, right? It knows this is the certainty. So right now, or anytime you're facing a challenge, which again, if you're an entrepreneur, it's life. That's what life is for an entrepreneur's challenges and for human beings, actually. your brain is constantly facing uncertainty. So it's really easy to get lost in negative thoughts about the future, in negative scenarios. And by the way, not only is your brain doing this, but everyone on your team, their brain is doing this. So, and then getting lost in those scenarios, the only thing it does is it wastes your mental and emotional capacity, your energy, which you really need so you can apply it to actually moving forward, doing your work. And so again, this is where these 2 steps of practicing acceptance are so important to help you not waste your energy on the potential negative scenarios and to bring it back to, this is what I can control. What is the next best thing I can do? So here are the 2 steps. Again, witness how things are with clarity. What are the facts? Instead of judgment, or here's the dramatic story my brain has made up about it. And then the second step is, given how things are, what is the next best thing I can do, right? And sometimes that next best thing is a really small thing, but that's okay, because there's a great quote in Zen Buddhism, and it says, your brain is a terrible master, but a great servant. Your brain is a terrible master, but a great servant. So when you give your brain this focus of, okay, this is how it is, what is the next best thing I can do? Once you identify one thing, it thinks of another thing and another thing. And so that's your practice of acceptance. And I cannot encourage you enough to focus on doing this yourself and to do this with your colleagues and with your teams, because all of our brains are right now really prone to negative thinking, to negative scenarios about the future, to wasting our emotional and mental energy on that. So your practice of acceptance helps you to gain a sense of control and focus your and your team's and your colleagues' attention on things that you can control, which is the source of your resilience. Another skill that I want to share with you is a skill of gratitude. Now, I do a lot of speaking and teaching these skills to leaders and teams and founders and companies. And when I say gratitude, usually people lean back and they're like, oh yeah, like I know about gratitude. I know it's good for me. All right, so here's an analogy for you. Gratitude is like broccoli, okay? We all know that broccoli is good for us, right? If you hate broccoli, I'm so sorry. Think of another good vegetable, okay? So we all know that broccoli has a lot of vitamins and nutrients, but here's the deal. You cannot get the health benefits of broccoli just by knowing that it's good for you. You have to eat the broccoli. The same thing with gratitude. Just reading the New York Times article about the scientific benefits of gratitude or knowing it's good for you doesn't give you the benefits. You have to practice it intentionally and daily as a skill. And if there is one skill that you really need to overdo it on when you're facing challenges, it's gratitude. It is an essential source of resilience. So I talked about how much your brain hates uncertainty. Here's another quality of your brain, which makes it really easy to struggle during challenges. And that is that all of our brains have what's called a negativity bias. We are much more sensitive to anything that is wrong, that is negative, than to anything that is good. Again, the brain developed this capacity because it helps to protect you from danger, right? Pack of wolves running at you, a lot of negative stimuli, the brain pays attention, fight or flight, you're protected. So we are naturally much more prone, not just to notice negative things, but also to be affected by them and to remember them. And again, everything I'm saying, just think about it, it's not just your brain that's affected like this. It's all the people on your teams, all of your colleagues, the same thing is happening in their brain. Here's the kicker. When you're going through a tough challenge, your brain's negativity bias gets even more sensitive because your brain is sensing danger. And so think about this. You're going through challenges and your brain is focused on what is wrong, what could go wrong, what is negative. And that can feel really overwhelming. You can really get stuck in this negativity spiral and not be able to function as well, not be at your best intellectual capacity, decision-making capacity. So what do? You practice gratitude. The skill of gratitude is very simply the skill of zooming in on what is good or positive or kind or beautiful or loving in your life, even while things are challenging, and then sharing your gratitude openly with others. And so you can literally balance out your brain so it doesn't get stuck in that negativity spiral with your active practice of gratitude. And one of my favorite ways to practice gratitude is 3 gratitudes before your first email of the day. So, we all grab our phone in the morning. You do it, I do it, let's just admit to it, okay? So it's already something you're doing. So the way to build a new habit is to connect it to something you're doing all the time. So before you open your email or social media or news, can you take a breath? And can you think of 3 specific things you are grateful for? Now, if you can write them down, that makes it more powerful. Maybe text them to someone. Maybe your first email of the day is your 3 gratitudes to a friend, to a colleague, to your team. But it is really, really important that you are specific. This is, if there is a mistake that people make about gratitude, it's that it can be too general. So I ask people often, like, tell me something you're grateful for. And they say, I'm grateful I'm alive, or I'm grateful for my family, or, I'm grateful for my health. Those are wonderful things, but to your brain, they sound like blah, 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 blah. They're too general, right? So be specific with your gratitude. And by the way, the smaller, the better. Research shows that it is the frequency of small and positive life experiences that contributes to our life satisfaction than anything huge. So zoom in with your gratitude. Be like a gratitude archaeologist, right? Be specific, and as a way to help yourself be specific, ask the question why. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm grateful for my team. Why are you grateful for your team? I'm grateful for the weather. Why are you grateful for the weather? So the more specific you can be about your gratitude, the more of the benefits you feel. And they've done a lot of research with people who undergo really traumatic life events. So veterans coming back from the war, families who've gone through trauma, like losing all of their homes and belongings during a hurricane. And research has shown that people who practice gratitude are more resilient through those challenges. They have lower chances of developing PTSD or depression or anxiety, and they move forward faster and easier. And so gratitude doesn't just help you appreciate more things that your brain otherwise takes for granted, but it helps you to truly have that inner source of resilience, not that toughness that we think it is, but an inner source of resilience. It reminds your brain that the challenges you are facing, either in your company, in your work, in your family, or our world, that they're not everything, that there are good things in your life. And that literally chemically helps your brain not spin out into a negativity spiral. It's like a gratitude spiral that goes the other way. And so I really encourage you to embrace an intentional and consistent practice of the skill of gratitude daily. Also, please remember that one of the best ways that you can practice gratitude is to share your gratitude with others. There is so much research that shows that when we share our gratitude openly and genuinely with others, we feel happier, we feel more fueled, we feel more connected, but also we give this huge gift to the other person. As human beings, one of our core human needs is to be seen, is to know that we belong, is to know that what we do matters. And when you share your genuine gratitude with someone, that is what you're articulating to them. That is what you're saying to them. What you do matters. You matter. And that not only, again, does that feel really good, which I think is a good enough goal, but especially in the work context, it helps the person be more resilient, more motivated, more productive. There's a lot of research that shows that when we're on the receiving side of gratitude at work, it actually enhances our ability to perform, especially during challenging times. So I also really encourage you, particularly during this challenging time when we're all more disconnected and feeling isolated, to up it with your practice of sharing your gratitude with others. One of the ways I love to offer to teams to do this when I work with teams and companies is gratitude meeting bookends. It is the simplest practice. So begin and end a meeting with gratitude. And we're all getting sick of these Zoom meetings, right? Because we don't get kind of the personal feel, the chit chat. So infuse your meeting with a little bit more humanity by beginning and ending with gratitude. So maybe you're the one who begins, and you begin the meeting by sharing something you are grateful for, or expressing your genuine gratitude for someone else in the meeting. And then at the end, see if someone else wants to go. It takes less than a minute total. And it's so powerful because it weaves gratitude into the flow of your team, into already the routine that you have. And it elevates gratitude to something that is as important as other to-dos or projects. And that is so important. There's a lot of research that shows that teams that have a culture of gratitude, and what is culture? Culture is what you do. right? Culture is not something over here and you have it. It's what you do. So teams who practice gratitude are more resilient. They work better together. They have more collaborative and open communication. And this is a really simple way to do this. And one other little incentive for you to practice gratitude meeting bookends is gratitude is this great, like I think of it as it's like a primer for your brain. And so when you practice gratitude, it centers you. You're more open, you're more collaborative, you're more connected to others, you're more creative. So think about the benefits of how much better the meeting itself is going to go if you begin with gratitude. That is, you're priming everyone's brain. And so that's a team gratitude practice that I can't recommend enough. And another version of it that I've taught to teams is gratitude tag. You can also do this on email. You share something you're grateful for, you tag a teammate, they share, they tag someone else. You can do this on Zoom. Again, not only does this have all the benefits that I just mentioned of gratitude for you and the person on the receiving end, but it brings more humanity into your team interactions. You cannot genuinely share something you're grateful for and not open up a little bit of yourself. I have to tell you, so many teams that I've taught these different gratitude practices to have said, an unexpected benefit has been, it's like, we feel closer. We got to know each other better because someone would share that they're grateful for a new song that they discovered, and then you end up having a conversation about music. Or, someone shares something cute their kid has done, and then you connect to another working parent. Gratitude, think of it as a way of sharing a bit of your humanity with others, and especially during challenging times right now. This is such a powerful source of resilience. Again, not just for you, but for you and your interactions with others, whether it's people on your team, your friends, or your family. So acceptance, gratitude, and I want to talk about the skill of self-care. Now, I don't know about you, but what did you think of when I said self-care? Most of us, and this is what I used to do, we think massages or spa or something like that, which are wonderful things, by the way, things that are challenging right now to experience, but that is not what I mean by self-care. I define the skill of self-care as cultivating a kinder friendship with yourself. I want you to answer this question just in your mind. What kind of relationship do you have with yourself? For most of my life, first of all, I never paused to ask this question. And if you had asked me this question earlier in my life, oh my God, what a pathetic question. Who cares? Who cares what relationship I have with myself? In fact, I really thought I was doing it the right way, of being all about my team, like a servant leadership, right? Leaders eat last. I really adopted that. In my case, it was leaders sleep last, or rest last, or take care of themselves last. But I really thought that if I just focus on my team, or as a parent on my daughter, I was doing it right. Who cares what kind of relationship I have with myself? Well, here's the thing. Your relationship with yourself and how you treat yourself is at the root of all of your other relationships in your life. The way you treat others is rooted in how you treat yourself. And so if you are harsh towards yourself, if you treat yourself constantly with criticism, without compassion, that is actually coming out in your interactions with others, whether or not you want to accept it or not. And I have to tell you, this was really hard for me to open up my eyes to and to recognize. And so self-care is this really essential skill that we have to cultivate, of developing a kinder and more supportive friendship with ourselves. And the first really essential way to do that is to learn to rest. Rest has become this 4-letter word, right? I remember when I was in college and I was complaining to my dad that I hadn't slept. I was pulling an all-nighter. He was like, oh, when I was your age, I slept every other day. Who cares? You'll sleep when you're dead. And there's definitely this culture, right? Of tough and sleep 4 hours a day in the entrepreneurial community, right? Well, it's really sad. And I was so part of that too, because rest is not a luxury. Rest is not doing nothing. You truly cannot function anywhere near your capacity for productivity, for creativity, for just doing the basic work that you need to do if you don't rest. There's a lot of research around rest, but one that really helps me when that voice in my head goes oh my God, that's so pathetic. You're so lazy. You're taking a break, or who has time for rest? When that voice pipes up, what really helps me to remember is the fact that rest is the opposite of doing nothing. When you rest, so either you sleep or you're taking a break, you're doing something to fuel yourself. When you rest, your brain is very, very busy. There's a part of your brain called the default modal network. And it's different regions of your brain that work together. And it's responsible for things like coming up with creative and innovative ideas, for organizing and processing information. Really, really important things. That default modal network cannot do its job unless you take a break and disconnect the frontal cortex, the thinking, analytical, focused part of your brain. So think about that. If you do not take regular breaks, if you do not give the frontal cortex, the thinking, doing part of the brain, if you don't give it a break, you're actually not able to let your default modal network do its job. You are not able to be as creative, as innovative, and as productive as you want to be. So rest, so when you think of this is rest for my voice. When you think of taking breaks or rest, if you think of oh, I don't have time to do nothing, just keep reminding yourself, as I do, rest is the opposite of doing nothing. It is absolutely essential for your brain to be creative, innovative, and productive. And also rest and taking frequent breaks is really essential for resilience. Excuse me. We cannot just keep going. I mentioned at the beginning, you do not have unlimited emotional, mental, and physical energy. So for you to keep going through challenges, you have to take breaks. You have to let your brain, your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul to take a break. But again, for me, what really helps is when I remind myself that rest is the opposite of doing nothing. So one practice that I want to offer to you for taking breaks, and so being a more supportive friend to yourself, and not just tough it out, no matter what, just do it, is I call it a 10-minute self-care reset. It's very simple. All these practices are really simple. The benefit of them is not in their complexity. The benefit of them is in your doing of them. Remember, emotional fitness is a skill. You can't just listen to me right now. You actually have to put these into action. So 10-minute self-care reset. Pick 10 minutes on your calendar every day. If you can go for 20, awesome. That would be ideal, but start with 10. It doesn't have to be the same time every day. My schedule changes. So in the morning, I decide when is my self-care reset. You must put it on your calendar. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. Okay? Then we just skip it. And when that 10 minutes comes, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is something I can do to refuel and reset right now? And do that thing. There's no wrong answer. Taking a short walk, getting a cup of tea, connecting with a colleague or a friend, other than one. Scrolling social media does not qualify as rest. It's not just my opinion. There's a lot of research around this. So other than that, anything that to you feels like restful and fueling is a great way to take a break. And remember, you are all leaders for your teams, right? To be a founder, we are all leaders in impacting others. When you take a break and you let other people know that you're doing it, that is how you encourage people around you, your colleagues, your friends and family, to take breaks. And so 10-minute self-care reset, by the way, I don't care what you call it. You can call it a pink flamingo on your calendar. I don't care, as long as you put it on your calendar every day and you start with one. If you can go to 2 breaks, that's even better. I want to mention one more thing about cultivating a kinder friendship with yourself, and that is the practice of self-compassion. I used to hate the idea of self-compassion because I thought self-compassion meant however I am is amazing. I never have to grow and improve. And I just thought that would turn me into a lazy sloth, right? I had it so wrong, because self-compassion has nothing to do with anything I just said. Self-compassion is the practice of recognizing that you are a human being, that you are imperfect. Sorry, all the perfectionists out there. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a recovering perfectionist. None of us are. And most importantly, self-compassion is a way to treat yourself in a way that aims to reduce struggle and suffering. Think about that. It is not about, oh, however you are is amazing, you never have to change. It's about treating yourself as you would a friend, right? When your friend is exhausted, what do you tell them? Oh, suck it up and push through. No. We probably say oh, can you take a break? Can you take it easy a little bit? Or when your friend makes a mistake, what do you say? oh my God, you are so pathetic. I cannot believe you did this. No, that is what we often say to ourselves. We say something to a friend like, oh, yeah, that probably wasn't the best way to do it. But now you learn you can move forward. That is the practice of self-compassion. When you treat yourself with compassion, again, you don't waste all of your precious emotional, mental energy beating yourself up and creating struggle. You now have that energy to enable you to move forward, to actually improve in the ways that you care about. And there's research that shows that when you make a mistake or you fail at something and you react with self-compassion instead of self-criticism or nothing at all, you're actually more motivated to work harder to improve. Because again, are you more motivated after someone yells at you and tells you how pathetic you are? No. You're more motivated when you acknowledge how things are, you learn from your mistakes, and you move forward. And you know, if you make another mistake, you're not going to cause yourself so much struggle. And so I really want to encourage you to cultivate this quality, to cultivate the skill of self-compassion as part of creating a kinder, more supportive friendship with yourself, because it's actually going to help you be more resilient through challenges. It's actually going to give you that fuel and motivation to keep going, and it helps you to work harder to improve in all the meaningful ways that you care about. So these are the 3 emotional fitness skills that I wanted to share with you: acceptance, gratitude, and self-care. And what I want to say in closing is the reminder that I give myself sometimes 20 times a day when I think about these skills and I kind of don't feel like doing them, or I feel like, oh, taking care of my emotional fitness is so self-indulgent. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give to others what you don't have yourself. You cannot do great work. You cannot be a great leader. You cannot positively impact others if you're constantly struggling, if you are constantly stuck in negative thinking, if you are constantly feeling drained and overwhelmed. You simply cannot. And so that is your bigger why. That is your sense of purpose for investing in practicing your emotional fitness skills, not only because you will feel better, not only because you're going to develop this really incredible emotional toolkit to help you get through all of the different challenges that work and life throws your way, but that is how you are going to be able to positively impact all of the people in your life that you care about: your colleagues, your teams, your family, your friends, your community. Again, we are human beings, so all of our emotions are contagious, whether we want to admit it or not. When I was overwhelmed and stressed out and on the edge of burnout, that is what I was sharing with my family. That is what I was sharing with my team. And again, it is really painful for me to say, but that is the reality. And so when you think about your emotional fitness, recognize that your emotions are not just yours. They are your team's. They are part of your work. They are really, they're everywhere where you have an impact. Your emotions have an impact. So what kind of impact do you want to have on other people? What kind of impact do you want to have on your team, your colleagues, your friends, your family, your community, your customers? I think we would all say we want to have a positive impact. We want to positively impact others. We want to help them get through challenges with less struggle. We want to impact them in a way that helps to enhance their capacity to courageously embrace challenges and grow through them. Well, the only way that you can do that is by investing in your emotional fitness skills first. You cannot give what you don't have. And so my call to action to you, my homework, I'm Russian, right? So I take homework very seriously. My homework to you is to take one thing that you heard me talk about, one practice, start with one, and make a commitment to practice it every single day for the next 5 days. There is no magic about the 5 days, by the way. There's no magic about 21 days to form a habit either. It doesn't work. But 5 days is a short amount of time where you do something every day for 5 days, then you can check in with yourself and say, how did that go? Like, what do I feel? Did I feel the benefit? What do I want to shift? So do it for 5 days, check in, do it again, check in. But most important thing is take one concrete thing that I shared and commit to practicing it as part of your emotional fitness skills, because that is where you gain your resilience. That is where you help yourself struggle less through the many challenges that you're facing, so you can actually bring your greatest capacity to the work that you care about, to the people that you care about. That is how you become a true leader who positively impacts other people's abilities to thrive, to get through challenges, You have to begin with yourself, and you have to begin by practicing your emotional fitness skills first.
Natalie Kogan, everyone. Thank you for your insight. And thank you to all of you for sharing your day with us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Worklife's YouTube channel for more digital events. Catch you soon.